Welcome back. Now we dig into one of the key parts of this guide, giving you some strong time management basics. In other words, it's time to learn the basics of time management skills that will help fuel law school success and build a solid foundation for time management skills in practice. Remember, no matter where you are in your law school journey, whether you've just started law school or are about to, or if you're finishing up your law school career, this can help you evolve your time management steps and take the next step. So, first, I want to talk about to-do lists because for many people, having a to-do list is the first time management strategy that they try to implement. So simply, in other words, simply having a list of to-dos to get done is the most basic time management strategy. Now, some people don't have this yet. Some people just kind of do things as they come in and are reactive to projects and to-dos as they come in. The next step would be starting to have a list. And so if you have a to-do list that you use, let's talk about the problems with using to-do lists and how to use them better. And then we're going to talk about more evolved and effective time management strategies from there. So the problem with most general to-do lists is that they're a bit too scattered. In other words, the type of things listed on our to-do lists are all over the place. You may have law school obligations and personal obligations all mixed in one big list. Another problem is they tend not to be prioritized. You may have something that really doesn't need to get done, that's not very important on your to-do list, right next to something that is absolutely crucial for you to get done to meet a goal that you have. Um, Another problem is people often treat to-do lists like a wish list. In other words, it's a sort of idealistic list of lots of things we want to get done, not what actually needs to get done or will best serve us. Another issue is a to-do list doesn't really tell you what to get done or how. It's just a list of stuff. It's not really a strategy for how to use your time well. And relying only on a to-do list is really stressful because you can't see how things are going to get done. All you will see is this looming list that's never completed. And so that can be really intimidating and overwhelming. And it's hard to create space and take breaks when you always have that list hanging there. So the first step to making better use of a to-do list, if this is a strategy that you like, is to break it down into categories. So for example, you might have a list for each law school class or for law school generally. You might have a personal list. Figure out what are the categories of to-dos that you need to get done and start dividing it into lists. From there, it's important to prioritize. So what are the most important things in each category that you need to get done? And then to delete things. There are probably plenty of things, if you're a checklist person, that don't need to be on your list at all. If you tend to gather a lot of things on your list, you may want to start a later list or a wish list, or as I like to call it, separate from your to-do list so you can keep track of those things without them overwhelming you on a daily basis as you see that list staring back at you. In other words, tailor your to-do list to different categories of priorities and prioritize what's on your list by what's most important, and make sure that your list only reflects what you really need to get done in the short term. So that's a better way to handle time management, but we're also going to talk about better time management strategies in a moment. But before we leave this topic, I want to encourage you to think about also how many to-do lists do you really have? Because when I ask people, they'll usually tell me one. They have one to-do list. But then I'll say, well, do you also throw things in your calendar? Do you set reminders on your phone? Do you send yourself emails? Do you send yourself text messages? Do you write yourself notes or post-its to remember things? All of those are many different inputs of to-dos, and it really splits our attention, which we'll talk about later, and is not very time efficient. So it's better that you have one source of to-dos, possibly two. So for example, that might be a to-do list and a calendar, or to-do list and reminders. But try to avoid having a to-do list that's split into so many sources, because that can really slow you down, cause you to miss things, and it can be very stressful. Okay, now let's move on past the to-do list into some better time management strategies. So having strong management skills typically includes having strong project management skills. In other words, the ability to break things down into parts and map out how they're going to get done, working backwards from a big goal or a deadline. So let's talk about an example from a law school class. So what is the end result of a law school class? What is the big goal? Often it's to take an exam and do well on that exam. Well, let's think about all the parts involved. You may want to do a practice exam or practice writing out analysis and answers. You may want some time to talk through issues with your study group. You want to make sure your outline is ready and finalized. You want to build on that outline each week. Of course, there's a lot of reading and studying and asking questions and reviewing notes and on and on and on involved in building that outline. So this is what I'm talking about. You want to be able to think about the different component parts of getting to a particular result and break them down. From there, you can break them down over time, right? In other words, if you just start with one big end result, you're likely not to have or plan enough time to get it done. It also makes your goals and projects that you have to take on more manageable, which helps with procrastination. In other words, it's a lot easier to know, okay, this week I have to review my notes from the last class, do the reading for the next class, right? All concrete tasks that you want to perform versus just this big end result of I better make sure I'm ready for the exam, right? So you can you'll feel much more motivated to tackle individual projects and components of your goal if you break them down into small steps. And then when you have those small steps, you can map out over the course of the semester how you're going to get those things done. It also makes it much more likely that you'll prioritize things and get them done in time. Now, how do you know what the steps are? Well, if you're new to law school, you may need to ask, right? Ask past students that are ahead of you in your law school career. Ask the academic support at your school, right? Talk to your professors. Figure out what those component steps are that are going to lead to your success and get in the habit of breaking things down into their parts. Okay, so there are two pieces. There's time management strategy and there's project management skills. Now, there are different project management, so planning and time management strategies that you can use. We already talked about the to-do list. Other approaches you can try. Some people like to map out the things they need to get done over a few weeks or a month at a time. In other words, periodically, you'll sit down, you'll think about all these different parts that you need to get done, maybe things in your personal life and things in your law school career, and you'll map out how they're going to get done, right? In other words, for each week or each day, you'll assign the things that need to be done over that period of time. Some people like to do this on a piece of paper, in a planner, or in a calendar. Another approach is the most important things approach. In other words, you pick the top most important things that you need to get done each day. It may be one thing, it may be three things. Typically, it shouldn't be a massive list of things. What are the most important things? So every day when you start out getting to work, you can make sure that you're moving the most important items forward versus focusing on other things and then finding that you don't have time left over for the most important things. Another approach is called time blocking. So that means you have a regular schedule where you block off certain times of day or week where you tackle certain things. For example, you may have class on Monday morning, and then Monday afternoon is the time where you study constitutional law. Or Tuesday morning is the time where you update your outlines. You divide your calendar, your typical week, into blocks of time and then figure out what you want to do with each of those periods of time. That combines well with the to-do list. If you have a to-do list divided into categories, you may say, hey, Monday morning is when I do my reading for this class, or Monday morning and Tuesday afternoon are when I take on this particular type of activity. Wednesday afternoon is when I run errands, right? You can figure out what or do personal tasks. You can block out periods of time, and then at that period of time, you go to the to-do list for that type of item and move the most important things on that to-do list forward. You can also try a combination of these strategies. So for example, you can identify the most important things that you need to get done and then map out over a period of weeks. So combining that mapping out method with the most important things method. So you pick a few most important things that you need to get done each day and map it out over a series of weeks, right? Versus just every day choosing the next most important things that need to be done tomorrow. It takes a longer view. So there are ways to combine these strategies, combine time blocking with to-do lists, combine the mapping out with the most important things, lots of ways. So I encourage you to take some time and think about where are you in your law school career? What does your life look like right now? What do the demands of law school look like for you right now? And which strategy would serve you best right now? And start thinking about how you're going to implement and experiment with that strategy.